This is the Divine Code reading for July 7th, pages 59 and 60. At the bottom, starting at the bottom of 58, a self-proclaimed prophet who prophesies in the name of idols and says, this idol or star told me that it is a commandment to do such and such, or not to do such and such. Even if he cited a correct Torah law, is liable for committing the sin of false prophecy. It appears that one who prophesies in the name of an idol, that is, by saying his prophecy in its name, is the main component for the idol worship itself. Is a main component for the idol worship itself, since Gentiles are forbidden to practice idol worship or its offshoots. This false prophet is therefore liable. It appears from Rambam, who places this law in the laws of the worship of stars and idols, and not in the laws of foundations of the Torah, that this is a part of the Torah law pertaining to idol worship. So that the fact that the person is speaking in the name of an idol means that he's committing the offense of idol worship. That's part of idol worship is when you list the things that are part of idol worship, that would include prophesying in the name. This is also clear because one who prophesies in the names of idols actually accepts them, and it is liable, like one who says to an idol that they are my God. It is also clear from Ramban on Deuteronomy 13:2 and Deuteronomy 18:20 that one who prophesies in the name of an idol is indeed saying two things. First, it accepts this idol as a deity, as a god, and he claims that it has informed him of a specific action or obligation which is to be permitted or forbidden. Yeah, so the person who is that goes along with the idea of being part of an action of idol worship is accepting a deity as a god over a person. That person is committing the offense of idolatry, and that's what a prophet is doing. We prophesize. Even if he prophesies in the name of an idol, but gives instructions to do a permitted mundane act or not to do so, or only predicts the future, he is nevertheless one who prophesies in the names of idols. It is included in the command in Deuteronomy 18:20, but the prophet who will speak in the name of the gods of others. The general topic there from Deuteronomy 18:14 is speaking about two things. One who prophesies to do something as a temporary commandment, or to do some mundane act that is permitted to be done. Since, as explained above, this false prophet accepts the idol It does not matter what he says in its name. For if he relates a true command from God, which would appear to be a statement of truth, Rambam explains it is still false prophecy if it is said in the name of idols. So even if the person gets up and says in the name of this or that idol, and he starts saying things that are true, whether it's that the sky is blue, or that you're prohibited to kill people. If there's a command from this idol, this or that idol, that stealing is wrong. Well, yeah, stealing is wrong. But the fact that he's saying it's from the idol means that he's accepting the idol as a deity, and that comes under the offense of idolatry, even if the person's saying something that's absolutely correct. It is forbidden to arrange a discussion or a debate with one who prophesies in the names of idols, or with one who prophesies in the name of God to serve idols. Both have the same status as a false prophet. He should not be asked to perform a sign or miracle. If he makes a sign or miracle on his own, one must not pay attention to it or think about it. Anyone who thinks about these so-called miracles, debating if they are true, is a sinner, since the false prophet obviously denies a foundational principle upon which everything in the Torah depends. As it says, it's still in Deuteronomy chapter 13, verses 2 and 4, if a prophet or dreamer of a dream shall arise among you, and he will give you a sign or wonder, and the sign or wonder comes about, of which he spoke to you, saying, let us follow other gods, and we shall serve them. Do not hearken to the words of that prophet, or to the dreamer of a dream. This and other Torah verses cited as sources for precepts or exclamations regarding details of any of the Noahide commandments are not intended to imply the Gentiles are commanded about any prohibition which God commanded upon the Jews. Therefore, a particular prohibition or directive derived from an exclamation on a Torah verse can be understood as relating to Gentiles in a general way. This is the intention of this book. I'm reading the commentary on do not hearken to the words that the prophet or the dreamer of that dream, which is a verse out of the Torah. This is the intention of this book, the Divine Code, to cite verses from the Hebrew Scriptures as sources for Torah concepts and to provide their authentic explanations. This is a general point throughout the book, but there are exceptions when a verse actually relates directly to a commandment for Gentiles. Usually in these cases, the author explains in the main text that it is an explicit scriptural commandment for Gentiles. This is one of the hard things when reading the Torah, is that the Torah to a large extent was written for the Jewish audience, and it's hard to tell without delving into it. It's hard to tell what aspects of the Torah relate to the non-Jew, or it's hard to tell what aspects relate to this or that category of people. Even within the Jewish people, there's men, there's women, there's different there's children, there's older people, you know, there's all these different categories of people within the Jewish community, and there's a lot of delving that goes into figuring out what applies to how different things apply. And this is the case with the scriptures here. I think the reason the editor is placing this commentary at this point is we're looking at Deuteronomy chapter 13. Deuteronomy chapter 13 is to a large extent targeted towards the Jewish audience. It's sort of explicit in this regard. However, there's principles within there that are universal, and that's where they're bringing it out here. The author of the book is bringing out general principles at this point learned from Deuteronomy 13 that the editor just wants to make sure people understand that there's slight nuances of difference, that we don't take it directly from there, but we're learning a general principle and applying it as a general principle. And that's why, like in yesterday's reading, there's a difference regarding how a proselytizer is handled. In the Torah that's given to the Jewish people, it's very clear that a proselytizer would be killed. A proselytizer teaching people to follow idolatry would be killed. And there's the various commandments saying don't give the guy a chance, and it's a very strongly worded. And there's different of the 613. There's different commandments that are very strong towards this person, but those commandments are directed towards the Jewish community. And for the Noahide community, we learn principles that we need to take it seriously, but yet we don't have the same. It's not a Torah commandment for the non-Jew to kill a proselytizer, for the non-Jewish court to kill a proselytizer, while it's a clear commandment in the Torah for the Jewish court to do so. So we need to know what's what with this, and that's where a lot of this is explained in the divine code. It's just we have to pay attention to these explanations. Likewise, a Jew or a Gentile, and the Rambam on the Foundations of Torah, chapter 9, halakha 1, it is clear from Rambam that all these types of false prophets intend to contradict the Torah of Moses in some way, whether they prophesy in the name of God or in the idol's name, or to change the Torah-based faith, and therefore they are liable. Rambam holds that there is a true prophecy among Gentiles. However, God will never send a prophet to command the nations to change their Torah laws, even temporarily, whether a prophet is a Jew or a Gentile. However, it is possible for one to be sent to instruct a permitted action. And for the Jewish community, sometimes it's possible that a prophet can be told to temporarily suspend or temporarily change one of the Torah commandments for a specific need. But this doesn't apply to certain fundamental principles. And here it's saying that for the Noahides, for the non-Jews, the 7 laws would be on such a fundamental, foundational level that a prophet would not be allowed, even temporarily, to suspend one of the laws. Likewise, a Jew or a Gentile who claims that God sent him to add, remove, or change a commandment from those that God had given through Moses, the 613 commandments, and the 7 Noahide commandments, is a false prophet. This applies even if he says that God sent him to explain the observance of a commandment in a way that differs from the tradition that was received from Moses. After Moses received the commandments from God, the definition of their observance was entrusted to the sages of Israel in the oral tradition, and it left the context of any further prophetic revelation as Moses taught. For this commandment I have commanded you today. It is not hidden. It is not in the heavens. It is very near you. It's in Deuteronomy chapter 30, and is explained in Tractate Baba Metzia, chapter 59. Subsequent prophets were sent to exhort people to keep the Torah, but not to add, change, or nullify any of its commandments. So when we look through the Bible, and then there were many prophets that were not actually recorded in the Bible, when we look through the Bible, we see they're always telling the people to follow the commandments. They don't come and tell the people to do something odd, unless in very restricted temporary changes for the Jewish people. They may be told something in very, but that's very, very, very unusual for that to happen, and it's only temporary. And they didn't actually change the law in a strong sense. They just said, for right now, we're doing something a little different. But they never tell people to change, that the laws are changing. Only Moses had a level of prophecy, and it was unique to Moses. A level of prophecy that was able to say, this is what the laws are. And once Moses says, this is what the laws are, then we're following the laws. And the prophets that come are upholding those laws. And see Rambam, The Laws of the Foundations of Torah, chapter 9, verse halakha 1. It appears to be clear that this ruling applies if a person prophesies a correct exclamation known in the oral Torah, because after it was given to Moses, the oral Torah does not reside in the heavens. And God promised that he would not inform us of a matter of Torah law in a prophecy. That's in Deuteronomy chapter 17, verse 11. So it follows that the person is a false prophet. This is clear in the Kesef Mishnah there, and in Rambam's introduction to his commentary on the Mishnah. So even in the case of what's called the oral Torah, the prophet is not able to come and prophesy a change. There's times that things are learned out through exegesis, through intellectually determining things based upon established principles of Torah study, that things can be learned out. and expanded upon in the oral Torah. This is done intellectually by Torah scholars. It's not done by a prophet. A prophet does not come to explain a new idea. So if a prophet is coming to explain a new idea, then there's something off about that. And that needs to be looked at more closely as to what's going on. Even a prophet that comes, if there's a court case, and the judges are required to learn it, figure out what's happening, and it's a difficult court case, and they're not really sure what's happened. If a prophet comes and through their prophecy says this is what happened, the prophet that's not a valid witness. That's not considered a valid witness. The court has to follow the court procedures, and the Torah scholars have to follow the proper procedures. The Torah scholars, that's the idea of the Torah is not in heaven. Therefore, if a prophet comes to explain something in Torah, that's not the established principle of how to explain something in Torah. It's not the venue of the prophet to do this. So it should not be accepted. That's not to say the prophet would not be saying something accurate. It's just that it's not the correct way to learn the Torah. So this applies even or that God sent him a message. This applies even if if he says that God sent him a message that one of the commandments was only meant for earlier times, but nowadays God had changed or nullified it, he is liable for this false prophecy, since he is contradicting the prophecy of the Torah of Moses received at Mount Sinai, which God promised that he would never change or nullify or replace with new doctrine. So there was a time before Sinai. The Sinai revelation is a centerpiece. It's a unique event. Prior to Sinai, there could be laws that were taught that might have been changed. But once Sinai occurs, the Torah is given at Sinai, the laws are solidified. They're engraved. Literally, they're engraved. And at that point, the laws are what they are, and they're not changeable. So if a prophet is hearkening back to the earlier days, that doesn't operate that way today. Thank you.